Hey, you know the opening scene in Jurassic Park, that waterfall? Yeah, that one. The guy I'm about to talk to, he owns that. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jay Helms, founder of this podcast and movement known as the W2 Capitalist. Today, we are wrapping up a 4-week series with the folks at Quest Trust. We've worked our way up the food chain. Now we're at the top. I'm going to say it's at the top. The president is here with us, Mr. Nathan Long. Nathan, thank you for joining us today. Nathan just prepped me and said, man, let's just skip the bio. Let's just get into the conversation. I know we got about 30 minutes, so let's do that. Let's dive into here, Nathan. But I've got some questions for you. And before we get into that, you were just talking about how you happen to be related to one of the smartest people in the world who operates Quest with you, right? So tell me a little bit about how you got involved with Quest. And then and I know you're an investor yourself, so I want to get into that a little bit, but how did you come to—
It was actually a mistake. It was
a mistake. By the way, before I want to do that, I wanted to do this first. So if I can interrupt you real quick, your team is freaking amazing. I've been dealing directly with one. I got to meet Anne-Marie last week. It was just I don't know what your hiring practice is to attract such amazing talent who not only just knows their stuff, but knows how to treat people, like they're a people and not a number. But whatever you guys are doing, double down on it because you're doing an amazing job. It's freaking awesome. So,
well, they have their own philosophy at Quest, and it's actually very difficult for people when they first come to work there.
Yeah,
we lose a lot of people, so I guess that, but the people that stay seem to really like it.
Yeah, well, you can tell they're in the knowledge of. It's just I haven't, I've dealt with some people in the underwriting department and the notes department too, and just those folks. I mean, it seems like whatever you guys are doing is incredible. It was one of the main reasons why I wanted to reach out and discuss getting you guys to sponsor and make this more of a formalized thing, because I know if y'all are helping me like this, you're going to help the listeners and the viewers and everybody. So again, thank you. Congratulations for all you're doing, because it's working, man. It's good stuff. So, but tell me about Quincy. Tell me how you got involved with Quest Trust.
I mean, Quincy is a real estate law attorney, and he's really smart. He'd be asked to speak all the time, specialized in specialized investments. And I worked in Arizona, but we would invest. We grew up in real estate investing family that did a lot, and so we were always looking for investments, and we figured out how to invest with our retirement accounts, and we would do that. And every time someone would have something weird, they always call Quincy. Hey, Quincy, do this, or whatever.
Yeah.
You get on the phone with our custodian at that time, and he would talk to him a little bit, and he wasn't paying attention. And the guy said, "Hey, we want to come out and talk to you about opening a franchise." And he said, "Yeah, okay." He was doing something else. Okay, yeah. So the guy shows up, and he's got 5 lawyers with him, and he's like, "You're so smart. We would like you to open this franchise, and we'll let you do it for I think it's $5,000 or something like that." And Quincy didn't want to do it. I was like, "Yeah." And he ended up doing it, and it started growing, and we enjoyed doing things, and we really just started Quest to figure out how to do more investments ourselves.
Yeah, gotcha. That's awesome.
It grew, and we just kept putting the money back into Quest, and it just kept growing. And it's an open book company, so all the employees get to see everything. All hundreds of them, they all get to see the books. They all get to see how things run. And it just kind of snowballed from there. To tell you the truth, it really was a mistake.
Mistake. That's some of the best successes come from mistakes, right? I think penicillin was a mistake, right? Because a guy left out a sandwich overnight or whatever. But so one of the things I want to talk to you today, I know you've been investing for a while. I was, before I hit the record button, we were talking about how Quest now hosts these virtual happy hours a couple of times a month. And if you want to get more information about that, I'm going to drop this link. It's w2cap.questtrust.com. It's our very special link you guys set up for this sponsorship. You can find out more about those. But I attended one last night, and I was just seeing how it goes, right? I did not expect to join that Zoom call and see you there and participating in it. And you wrapped up your little segment there where like you were just a participant in it. And you said, look, if you guys have an investment you want me to look at, I'm looking for investments. My email is nathan@questtrust.com. And I was like, wow, this guy really is an investor. Otherwise, and you went into some disclaimer about, hey, if you email me about investments, it's me personally investing. It's not Quest Trust.
Yeah, I always have to distinguish that, because people we don't invest our clients' money. That's but I have to find investments for myself. And typically, I'm a hard money lender, so I like to lend to people either buying or renting, and that's what I like to do. Lower than hard money rates, higher than bank rates, that type of stuff. Works really well for me and my family.
Very good. And speaking of family, one of these things that I've been looking at here recently is, I do have 3 young kids. So when you have kids, my mind just kind of went in a different place. Like, all right, when I'm gone, right, whenever that is, how am I going to make sure they're set up for financial success? And one of the things that I know you've talked about before is building generational wealth and how you can use a self-directed IRA to do that. So kind of give me the high level of how I can do that and why I should do that over other vehicles, right? Or
let me back up.
Okay.
I run a retirement company. It is, you would think that the first thing I'm going to come up here and tell you to do is what everyone else is telling you to do, which is to work hard, get a good education, put 10% of your money behind, and then it's going to be white sand beaches when you I've seen the commercials, Jay.
Yeah.
I've seen them. But unfortunately that hasn't worked, and it hasn't worked for a lot of years for a lot of reasons. There's too much erosion. There's too much distance between you and the actual return. There's also taxation. There's also the S factor. Things happen in your life. Divorce, sickness, right? Over the course of a long enough period of life, you're going to have some interrupting events, and without knowing how to schedule and plan for those, you're going to have issues. So if that doesn't work, what does? You've got to think about it completely differently, Jay. Okay? You've got to start working generational wealth, and you also have to, you have to be able to think in timelines that go longer and think about both your parents, yourself, and your children. And you can do that with self-directed IRAs, but just in IRAs in general too. So here's where I think that it gets broke. First of all, you're going to have years that you make a lot of money, years that you struggle if you're any type of normal human being, right?
Right.
So you should always work up until that point that you got what I call a full belly. You paid your things and everything's doing good. It's okay to have a lot of bills. It's okay to spend a lot of money. A lot of people misunderstand wealth. Part of having wealth is having cool things and doing cool stuff. You should be putting money aside. But then after that, what you should be doing is taking the little bit of money that you're putting aside and learning how to leverage it with your talent and things that you know how to do, like buying rental property. Talk about an easy play to do inside of a retirement account. I buy a rental property. I either buy it subject to or get a loan from something like North American Savings Bank. So in other words, I'm buying it debt leveraged.
Right.
I use some of the different strategies to get around the taxation and debt leveraging. So if you think about it, take a young person. How old are you? I'm sorry, you look very young to me. So.
Well, thank you. I am 41.
41. Okay.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. If I shave this off, I look 22. So
20 years old.
Yeah.
What is that person normally doing? Take a person that's 30 years old. They're working hard. They're putting 10% of their money aside. So make $100,000 a year. I'm putting 10 grand away each year.
Hopefully. Right.
Now, here's a strategy where you do it 1 year and you end up with the same amount of money at the end of the road. Which is, all I do is I take a property, I put it down. It's not a great property. I'm cash flowing it. doing that. But I do it in an IRA. I put $10,000 down. I get a property that nobody wants because it's a little bit upside down, but I can cash flow it. I hang on to it. All right. All I'm doing is trying to get enough rent to make the payment on it and keep average maintenance and vacancy rate in there. Over time, that property is going to go up because what do I have? I actually am looking at a long time frame. You've got 20 years before you retire, right? Now you could save all 20 years or put $10,000 once on a debt leveraged property. What's going to happen in 20 years? Well, guess what? The property is going to be free and clear in 20 years. Also, the rent's going to have slowly gone up over those periods of time. So you'll have extra cash there. And typically the property doubles every several years, right? So if you started at 30, you may end up with a $750 or $1 million type of asset. Certainly some of the assets that my parents bought in inner city, Houston, Austin, Dallas, definitely had great increases. You understand? Right?
Yep.
Some of those areas just blew through the roof. I missed some of that. I'm going to point that out.
I think some of those properties have blown through the roof here in the last 6 months or so. You know, it's kind of, I don't know.
It's just, who would have known,
bonkers, man.
But COVID would affect real estate in such strange ways. But
yeah,
anyway,
that's another episode, right?
You know what I'm saying? So you can strategize it. Now, let's circle back around to what you're really talking about, because I think this is so important. And I'll relate back to my own family so that you can understand what I mean. I had an 18-year-old son. I love to real estate invest. You know, he got that. I like to lend and I like to do all this, that stuff. I want to have great conversations with my son. You know what I sounded like? He had long hair. He's got a tattoo of a guitar the day he turned 18. He got that put on his arm. You know what I'm saying, Jay?
Yeah.
All right. I was like, I sound like the Peanuts teacher. Mama. You know what I did? Here's what I did with my son. They said, son, I'm going to give you $5,000. He's like, dude. And I was like, but I'm going to put it in an account that you can't touch until you're over 59 and a half. But it will grow tax-free and it'll be worth a whole bunch of money later on in your life. And I'm going to invest it with you. And thanks. I was like, oh, dude. Right. Then I took his Roth IRA and I would partner it with my investments. So he had only $5,000.
Right.
But I would take it and I would partner it with a loan or an equity appreciation or a property. I did different investments over the years. I specifically chose different investments because I was teaching. Okay. And then what I would do is I partner with him. He would watch this money grow, you know, and he would only get back with, if it was $100,000 investment, he had put 5,000 in, he'd only get 95. He would get his 5% of that return back.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But he got to watch this grow. And somewhere around 24, 25, the bells went off. You know, that's about the time in life that you actually discover that work is hard.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of it. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
You know? And he's watching this account grow and he became interested in finance. Now my son works with me at Quest. He's a certified IRA specialist. He does all types of investments. The investments in my family often go like this. Jay, if you come to me and say, hey, Nate, I found this deal. I want to borrow $100,000. Could you loan it to me at 11% interest or something? I thought, okay, I'll do that. That looks good. Like it's got good equity, right? I've got a wife that's an attorney. They'll draft up the note and deed trust, blah, 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 blah. I've got different ways. You can see some of my classes to learn how to secure yourself properly, because just lending in itself, you know, you got to learn how to do it right. But anyway, so I might look at my IRA and it might have $40,000 cash in it, you know, and you need 150. Do I stop there? No. I go to my son. Hey, you got some money in your IRAs? Yeah. I thought we're doing IRA loans. In other words, we like to partner IRAs together. And then sometimes when it's personal loans, we're doing personal loans or whatever. But anyway, that's just our different buckets of money. And I call my mom And she says, yeah, I got some money. Let's put this in. And she does this investment. Now we have this investment all together. And as that money's coming in, it's getting split up according to who put how much in.
Right.
We're all involved in each other's investment. When someone gets sick in our family, when someone dies, when someone passes on, there's never any squabbling about wealth or what's happening or what's going on with their investments, because we all know. We're all been involved in it.
Yeah.
It brings you together as a family like nothing else will. And it's so strange and it's so simple. And you could start with your children at an infant age. My older brother would buy a lot for a few $1,000s when his kids were an infant and just hang on to it. And they get out there and they walk them out. This is your land. What do you want to do?
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
And he says, you want to save some money? And if we save some of your money a little bit away, we could buy something on here. We could put a house on here. We could, and over the course of their life, he would walk them through how to do things. And this is how you build generational wealth, because wealth is really from information.
Yeah.
Information.
That's solid. That's good. That's a solid advice right there.
Sorry, I just can rant for a long
time.
No,
all the good side. I did not want to interrupt you, because, every time I talk about generational wealth, there's usually a couple of different stories people go to. I had not heard that angle of opening up. Well, I have, now that I think about it, I've heard opening up like a whole life insurance policy on your kids, right? Or I had not heard anybody talk about opening up, or if I did, I forgot about it, a self-directed IRA for your kids. That way they're already established, and then, pushing those funds together to do whatever.
IRA for your children as soon as they get earned income. And there's ways to do it too. Like for example, for you have your own business. You can snap a picture of your children,
right?
Put them on your business cards, and now you pay your children a little bit of money for an advertising fee. Well, that reduces your taxable income. It's a small enough amount that no one's going to compare. Now, they pay a little bit of tax on it because they don't have a tax deduction, right?
Right.
Thing. Now they can make a contribution into a Roth IRA. Roth IRAs, money can be removed for higher education, as well as other things. Sometimes that's a better investment vehicle than like a Coverdell or something.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, a little bit off topic here, but I have been looking at whole life insurance policies. What is the biggest difference? Do you have one of those in addition to a self-directed IRA, or are you guys just focused on IRA?
Personally?
Yeah.
Okay. I will tell you, I've had my insurance license, so I do know a little bit about it. That's not how I look at insurance. I don't like whole life policies because it's a two-part thing. You got part of it that's investment. Okay.
Right.
I can do typically better with my investment. Now, life insurance is important. All right. And one of the most important things that life insurance does is make your spouse and family feel comfortable.
Right. It makes me feel comfortable too, right? Knowing that they're going to.
It's a comfort level. Most time you never do. So if you can go to a term policy where you're just buying the life insurance, okay, you could get those super cheap, especially if you shop them. You want to use an A-rated type company.
Right.
So a company that is going to be there when the time comes, right? But if you're assuming you're healthy, you could get a $1 million policy for 10% of what you're paying for that. When you compare the difference of even an average investor, now I take the fact that you're Jay and know how to actually take money and make it worth more money. You see what I'm saying? You start to force yourself to apply some of those other policies. Again, there's everybody that can talk about it different ways. That's the way I see it, is I think building whole life policies is back to the old school thinking, shoveling money into these accounts. Really, you need to learn how to get the accounts to learn how to make their money.
Gotcha. Okay. That's interesting because we just had, we're far enough down the road where I'm finally sold on the idea of having a whole life policy in addition to.
I'm sorry.
No. It's I wanted to know because I'm always wanting to know. It is safe to assume that you have a much higher net worth than I do. You make a lot more money than I do. It's safe to assume that. I've got you here. I want to ask you a question, like, how do I get to the next level? What are you doing? Are you participating in this? So that was the reason why I was asking. I will probably go through with it because this has been like a 3 or 4 year journey for me to figure out, is this a good idea? It never really made sense to me. And I finally linked up with this guy, and Mark Willis, he was on the podcast several months ago now, and it just clicked. When he was explaining it to me, it just clicked. I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. We're going to do it. And one thing I like about the whole life is that it forces you to invest, right? Like I need that accountability.
Well, that's what I was trying to get to. Like, what's right for one person isn't right for everybody.
Right.
You can't throw a blanket over things, right?
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong, at least in my opinion, this is how I'm planning on doing it, is I have my self-directed IRA funds, and then I'm going to have my whole life funds, right? And I'm planning to keep both of them, even though I know you can move, at least I think you can move your self-directed IRA and your old 401ks. I want to keep them separate.
Somebody will tell you sometimes to use life insurance in with your IRA, and that doesn't make sense because life insurance is already a tax deferred type of vehicle. So you don't put a tax deferred vehicle inside of a tax deferred vehicle.
Gotcha. Yeah. I want to keep them separate. I want to have both of them. To me, it's just, I don't know. It's just something about having money in different buckets in different places makes me feel a little bit of extra comfort, right? In case.
Well, yeah. And I think that's
something happens.
I think that I always encourage most of my clients to keep, like if they have a relationship like with Charles Schwab, keep that open, because you should move your money back and forth. Self-direction is only for those specialized things that you find. Oh, I found a rental property I want to buy. Well, as that pays off rent and builds up cash, what should you do with it? You don't have enough to buy another one yet or something. Well, that should be being pushed over to your other thing. Keep your self-direction.
Yeah, thank you. That was really what I was looking for, is what's your recommendation? So thank you. We went around my elbow to get to my ass kind of thing. But I
like to see, well, think about it. Some of the people that were totally in the stock market at the beginning of this year got killed.
Oh, they got crushed. Yeah.
Right. I took some hits. I had some money in the stock market, but I'm diversified out between all those others things. Mostly I'm just getting paid back a lot of money and having a hard time finding investments right now.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking for my next apartment syndication, and I cannot find one that makes the numbers work. It's been a struggle.
You find deals, but not deals you want.
You can find. I had a deal. It looked great on paper. I started looking into the area. I wasn't very familiar with this area, and this neighborhood was lit up like a Christmas tree on the crime reports. And so I messaged a broker and found somebody sent me this article about it, and not a very nice article about the neighborhood. It's talking about gangs taking over the neighborhood. The article was very old, right? But I messaged the broker and I said, hey, what do you think about this? Can you get me a more detailed crime report on it? He goes, well, I know there's only been 2 murders in this neighborhood, but I'll see if I can get you. And I was like, only 2? Like, I'm not, I'm done. It's, but it made
the Heights downtown. So like 2 doesn't sound too bad.
2 doesn't sound bad.
Downtown, 2 doesn't sound bad.
I was like, oh, it's not. Anyway, so
just on that block.
yeah. It was, but you're right. There are plenty of opportunities out there. None that I want, none that fit our criteria. But I'm super conservative when it comes to that. Anyway, but here's what I know, and it's amazing how every time I talk to Juan, I talk to Anne-Marie, how quick 30 minutes goes by. And I know that's all we allotted for this. I want to be respectful of your time. 2 questions I've got for you here. In your experience, you've been doing this a lot of time. What has been the coolest IRA investment that you have done personally?
I mean, there's cool, and then there's made a lot of money. So, right now, our 401k, our company 401k, owns part of a waterfall in Maui.
Owns a part of a waterfall?
Yes. Yep. So in other words, we own the waterfall.
How the hell do you buy a waterfall?
The whole thing. So if you ever seen the first Jurassic Park, that's side of Maui that's very undeveloped.
Yeah.
We lease it out for movie rights and stuff, and they're building a resort, and it's doing really well. So
That's pretty cool.
It was
All
just
right.
an odd investment that came along. Quincy found it. And
That's pretty cool. I don't know how much money you are making on that, but that's pretty cool.
You know what's funny is we put in a little bit of money and then a little bit more. We bought out a couple of other investors, but it looks like we're going to crush it. You know, and it was really just like, we're just going to dip our toes in the water a little bit.
That's cool. That is cool.
But the whole idea was that's a very long-term type of thing.
Yeah.
You buy those type of things, you buy several of them, and then hold them for a long time. And if one does have a big pop, I wouldn't certainly do that in a more conservative type portfolio.
Right. Because that is, I mean, it's land, right? But it's
very hard.
Not developable. Am I saying that right? Developable.
I mean,
land.
it is. They're able to do it. They're just the roads aren't good yet.
That's cool though. I wish I had a story like that. I own a waterfall in Maui. That's like, I like how you set that up. What's been the ugliest investment, or the dirtiest, I should say?
I maybe a recent one we were involved in where the lent money to a gentleman on mobile homes.
Okay.
With land.
Yeah.
Made payments for years at a high interest rate.
Yeah.
And then they were involved in a divorce in a small county that, because the paperwork had gotten old and some other things like that, we all got dragged into the receivership. And I was very thankful that my wife was an attorney. I don't know how I would have afford to litigate,
Yeah.
And then COVID hit in this small town, trying to have a court Zoom, and they couldn't even figure out where the buttons were. Like, this is a what is that? They had no clue about what we did.
They didn't know what a self-directed IRA was.
But they were very, it was a good court. We ended up prevailing and getting our money,
but still ugly and dirty things you wish you just didn't have to go through.
When you get dragged into someone else's, and you're just a lender, and you get dragged into their divorce, that's ugly. So, but I learned a lot from it, and so I try to teach those classes I teach about lending money. That's good stuff. All right, so one last question. I know we got to go.
If you knew about self-directed IRAs long ago, what would you have done differently then? Right. Say if you're a 20, 30-year-old, freshly married, maybe.
God. If I was Juan Deshawn or one of the young kids that work for me that are super bright like him, man, oh man, I would learn to live with less.
Yeah.
Right? Buy a smaller car, wear less fancy clothes, have a little bit less.
He does dress pretty nice. I'll give him that.
Whatever it is.
I know. I know you're not calling him out specifically.
I mean, if I think back to my young time, I spent a whole bunch of money on 8-track tapes. I don't even know what they are.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just at the edge of the thing. So, don't spend money on technology. There's other things to, and learn to invest a little bit of money. And actually learn how to buy real estate and hang on to it.
Yeah.
I think the best thing are like small homes, inner city, even condos sometimes. That stuff has done really, really well for me.
Yeah.
And if I'd gotten into it earlier and had a little bit more discipline, because you have to have a base of money to start with.
Yeah.
I know all these guys say, you go wholesale and do that. Wholesaling's a job. That's work.
It is a job. Yeah.
Right. Even flipping's a job. That's work. You can do it. So you got to get some money somewhere. You got to get the ball rolling. So the best way to do it is to be using someone else's money. So you try to get enough money to buy a property and hang on to it with a loan, one way or another, or with someone else's money, or partnership, or something else along those lines.
Yeah, and one last time we recorded, he told me that he just done his second private money loan. I'm thinking, Man, what are you mid-20s? Like, how do you know how to do it? I'm glad he knows how to do it because he's walking me through the process. But here I am, almost twice his age. And I'm like, yeah, I just did my first private money loan.
So yeah, those kids he's good.
He's a sharp guy. Again, I've been impressed
But
with
don't
him the
tell him that
entire
too
way.
much, because then he'll want to pay me more.
All right, I'll keep that on the down low. Nathan, thank you so much for your time today and your knowledge and sharing the stories about your family. It's been incredible to hear that, and it's really sparked some ideas for me. So thank you very much. I appreciate you being here.
Really, you're what makes it work. Is when I see people learning how to take charge, not buying into what just everybody's telling them, asking questions, right? I mean, if you follow the herd right now, you are going to be led right off
a cliff.
We've got to think for ourselves. We've got to get out of this. Well, that's the way it's always been done. I'm telling you, we have to. And man, I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right,
hopefully we'll get to do this again soon. I'm going to do my best to attend the next virtual happy hour that you guys host, in hopes that I'll see you there.
By the way, all our stuff's free. If you guys go on, if you want to get on the education, all that's free. We're not selling education. That's not how we make our money. So these webinars and all that type of stuff, jump on there, get all that free education. You can talk to an IRA specialist. They're not trying to sell you anything.
Yeah. And you guys have the self-directed Saturdays, new webinar. I think it's every Saturday you're doing. And just last plug here is that if you want to find out any information from that, schedule a consult with a free consultation with an IRA specialist. w2cap.questtrust.com. That's where you can.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's nice to just talk to an IRA specialist, even if you're not going to self-direct.
Yeah.
They'll talk to you about things. They know things, again, because they're not under the pressure to sell anything to you. They might just know things that stimulate some of your own thought processes.
Yeah. Every time I talk to somebody in your organization, a new thought comes up, like, oh, I need to go dive into that. I need to research.
We've all been trained by Quincy to think about things a little bit differently.
That's good.
It really has. He's actually trained us to think differently.
Yeah. I want to own them. I want to own them waterfall too. Nathan, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, y'all, that wraps up our series with the folks at Quest Trust. Have any questions at all, reach out to me. I'll tell you exactly my experience with them. You can email me, jay@w2capitalist.com, or if you want to schedule your free consultation with the guys at Quest, with Anne-Marie or Juan or anybody on Anne-Marie's team, go to w2cap.questtrust.com. Again, a special link they set up for us just for this sponsorship, to kick off the sponsorship. Going forward, you're going to hear me drop that URL and their name a lot. So want to make sure you guys are aware of it and take advantage of their knowledge. Who would have thought that you could buy a waterfall, invest in a waterfall? Who would have thought of setting up a self-directed RA for your kids so that they can use it and you can use it as a tool to show them how to create money and how to do that throughout their entire life? It's freaking amazing. It's really, really cool. I love the idea about buying the land and walking them through, hey, this is your land. I'm going to talk to the wife about that one. Anyway, guys, next video I want to see you in.